Okay, guys, let's go over what we are going to be doing. So, this week, as you saw, you have to create a shader. And creating a shader is pretty easy. We've gone over a little bit, but I am going to jump in and I'm going to show you how to build a big shader. And we're going to jump in and do some really cool stuff with that. So, where this is coming from is I'm going to give you a few pieces, a few meshes that are already turned in from something I'm actually working on. That is going to be an online class for something else. And it is based off of modular design. However, with you guys, I'm going to be going over the shading, texturing process, and the actual other course I'm using this in is literally a modular design modeling class that actually walks through building something like this from scratch, taking it into Unreal, and then putting it together and lighting it. So when we look at this, it's like, oh, cool. We have this scene, and I have a lot of things open right now, so that's why it's chugging a bit. On a side note, anytime you have Unreal running, and if you have real time turned on, it takes a massive amount of resources, so you might want to think about actually not doing that unless you're actually working in it or not forgetting it if you seem like, oh man, my machine is running really slow. A lot of times it's because real time is turned on inside of Unreal, and it is a beast. It will definitely suck up a lot of juice. So, modular design, as I was saying. So you have this piece. I've taken a few of these pieces and I'm going to add a few more, and I think we're going to have a little bit of fun with this. Um, and you can see that I have them basically set up. They're already UV mapped. They have a light map. Um, we're going to add the textures in Unreal and put it into Unreal. Okay. So, how is that set up? Well, let's take a look as I kind of bounce around a little bit. And okay. So, inside of that project, and this is another thing. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start you guys off with this big shader that does a lot of stuff. And essentially, we will be able to make not only a shader, I want to take it up a notch and get you guys started that you can at least start practicing. You don't have to worry about trying to make it as elaborate. But if you can, that is a cool thing, and I'm going to give you the tools to do it. Basically, let me show you what our end result, at least of the material, is, so that you get the idea of what it was we were. Hold on, what we're going for. So I'm just going to open up another project real quick. And so the whole idea, while that's cooking, let me show you what we're going to make. Boop. We are going to make this shading network. And that can look a little intimidating, but once we break it down, you'll see that it's really not that complicated. Everything makes logical sense. This is one of the images, and I have close-ups that I'm putting into the course folder, or that is in the course folder, so you can zoom in, look at what the connections are, and you can mimic it. They're inside of comment boxes. These are the boxes that you can do to organize and group nodes and then add names to them, as well as you can actually go in, because a lot of times when you have a material that gets really complicated, or you get something that's really huge and that looks very intimidating with all this white spaghetti all over the place, and you go back and you want to edit something and you go, oh my gosh, I don't remember what any of these things are doing. How did I make this? We're going to go over commenting. And when you actually add comments and descriptions like this, basically what happens is that when you go back, you're not having a good naming convention, organizing with comment boxes and going in. What you're going to find out is like, oh, wow, I don't have to try and remember every single thing. And that will be a very good thing when we get to that. So, it looks like it is just chugging because I have just way too much stuff that's actually open. Let me close this up. No, we're not going to save you yet. I'm just going to free up a little bit of space while it's cooking. So, yeah, it's still opening. It's slow chugging. Let me see if the pause will work. Alright, so as I figured, things were crapping out. I had to close it up, but it should be fine now. And we'll take a look at this. And we could see I brought in one of these pieces, and it has this material on it. Now, the material is not that special, except for the fact that when I actually go, let's double click on that. It's kind of weird. Okay. So, there we are. Okay. Let's take a look. I want to show you. This is this material. This is called a master material. Okay. You'll see them in Unreal if you open up a lot of their levels and backwards deconstruct them. But a master material is a really powerful thing. And the reason being is that with a master material, you essentially create a material and you actually put in parameters that allow you to control it. Now, we're going to go over this. Don't be intimidated. It's not that bad. And we're going to look at this is the instance material. This is that basically a duplicate of the master material. But where it's cool is I basically built it so it has these controls in it. And with these controls, I can change the color of the brick. I can change, let's take a look at the normal maps real fast. So this thing is using normal maps, and I have, just so you can see, watch this, 0, 0. This is what the normal maps usually look like if you create them, but when you get in close, you see it starts to fall apart a little bit. But when I actually turn on this little guy, it's a built-in secondary detail normal that allows me to actually maintain detail as I get close up. So we can see all these little nooks and crannies that are inside of the brick. And that's using a secondary tiling normal map to do that. On top of that, I've built in controls that allow you to adjust how metallic it is, the roughness, how reflective, like not reflective at all or shiny, then almost like, wow, it's like raining and it's just super, super wet. Specularity, how much that secondary normal map is tiled. How much all the other textures are tiled. So I can make these bigger or I can make them smaller. And I can even offset them, all because of that hierarchy. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to create this material, believe it or not, and we're just going to hit the ground running and create this material that we can now adjust and say, wow, you know, that's pretty cool, but I want to adjust. I want to go in and let's say I want to adjust its color. Oops, wrong one. Whether I want to make it lighter, darker, or maybe even a different shade, depending on the look I'm going for. This is the old color, the original. This is the new one, so I can make it more of a beige, or there's all sorts of things I can do for it. Cancel, just bring it right back to what it was. So, master material, and then you make an instance material that has all the controllers based off of the master. This actually isn't that bad. It looks bad. It looks like, oh my gosh, there's programming and all this other stuff, and it really isn't. And we're going to see how easy it is. So let's get started.